Still stick with women and their health, and preeclampsia is pregnancy-induced hypertension responsible for 60% infant and maternal mortality. Becca, who did the launch jointly with the DG of the Ghana AIDS Commission, said everyone should use their social media networks to spread the awareness about preeclampsia. Kwewa Labi Ofusua lost 2 boys through preeclampsia. She's the project lead for the campaign, and Dorothea Obri, who is the national campaign coordinator, and they both join us in the studio for more. Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon.
Good to have you. But tell us, take us through this preeclampsia. What is it all about?
Once again, good afternoon to our viewers there. As you've already mentioned, preeclampsia is a pregnancy-induced hypertension disease. I have suffered it. I have lost 2 sons out of it. One in 2012, I suffered the full disease, eclampsia. And then 7 weeks ago, March 2017, I suffered preeclampsia.
Wow.
I lost 2 boys.
You must have gone through a lot.
Yes, I did. It was one painful experience, and it's no joke to lose a soul, whether it's a baby or a mother.
Talk less of 2.
Talk less of 2, you know, having to go through twice. And it's a prevalent pregnancy disease that we must take serious. And I will leave Dorothea here to go into the technicalities of it.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. So, as you've already mentioned, preeclampsia is one of the hypertensive disorders in pregnancy, and it's actually linked to the placenta, which is an organ that you develop during, is specific only during pregnancy. So, there's actually a defect that goes on within that placenta that will cause your blood pressure to rise, and then you get protein in your urine. If that happens, you realize that there's low oxygen supply, blood supply, and nutrients to the baby. And in the end, you end up losing the baby within your womb. Or you give birth to the baby, there's low there's respiratory distress, and then you lose the child. And the mother can also be affected with a lot of symptoms. She can go into seizures, and then in worse situations, she can die.
We know generally that hypertensions are caused by some separate lifestyle that could lead to hypertension, but preeclampsia, how do people get affected with this?
So, the actual cause of preeclampsia in the medical world is not known as of now.
Wow.
So, there's still research ongoing to identify the actual cause of it. But then we have women who are at higher risk compared to others. So what we do is to find out those who are at increased risk and know how to manage them. For example, as you already mentioned, lifestyle is one of them. Even getting common infections that could alter your placenta during pregnancy is also one of them. So there are lots of risks that can go into you getting the condition in the second half of pregnancy.
Kwewa, tell us about your experience. What did you go through then? Was it because you were not frequently going to see a doctor who could tell that you have that condition and so help you curtail it? I mean, how did it all happen?
Talking of risk factors, just to add to hers, if you've had a family member who has had it before, you could have it. In my case, my mother had it, so I had it. But funny enough, I attended antenatal for my first pregnancy. I attended antenatal for 27 weeks.
Wow. At
a private hospital. I'm telling you, for all those 27 weeks, even though I will go and the doctor will say, or the nurse will say, oh, pressure, bashro, or there's protein in your urine. Nobody, not for once, mentioned where I was heading to, that preeclampsia. I never heard the word, not in the hospital or outside the hospital.
Wow.
So I was ignorant to the word eclampsia or preeclampsia. And for that reason, for that ignorance, I suffered that loss. Exactly. And for the second one, even though now I was educated, somehow it was detected late. And so at the time when it could be intervened and managed, the preeclampsia was fully blown, and so the baby got affected and it died in my womb.
Oh, so sorry about this. But how, after this preeclampsia experience, how has life been?
Life has been interesting. I have turned my tragedy into a positive course, which is to set up a campaign awareness about preeclampsia. because if somebody as educated as I am could be ignorant about it, I can imagine the average woman out there. And so that is why we set up this Center for Constitutional Order, the foundation set up or initiated the Ghana Action on Pre-Eclampsia campaign project. The purpose of this project is to educate and increase the awareness of the disease and to call on health departments and hospitals to promote the symptoms of this disease among our pregnant women. And so our motto is saving precious lives, and our slogan is know the symptoms, spread the word. And we are hoping at the end of the campaign and with our awareness, there will be early detection of the disease and more control measures to manage it.
Dorothea, you talk about not knowing what actually is the cause. So if we don't know what causes it, how can we prevent it?
So as she talked about, once you don't know the cause, it's going to be very difficult to know how to prevent it. So as I said, we look out for women who are at higher risk. And then when we know these women, we know
who are the women at higher risk.
As I mentioned, she mentioned one, if you have a genetic background or
so it could be hereditary.
Yes, very hereditary.
Yeah.
You have a lifestyle of being overweight, or yes, you could be predisposed to that condition. And getting infections at any point in time during pregnancy could also increase your risk. So there are a lot of risk factors that we look out for. So that is why it's very important that once you detect that you're pregnant, you immediately go so that you are assessed and know how your pregnancy will be managed. It's even advised that you even go for to the antenatal to talk about your pregnancy even before starting conception. It's very important.
Very, very much so. But people with hypertension,
yes,
are they at higher risk?
They are very at higher risk. So the hypertensive disorders in pregnancy are grouped into 4. So we have those who have chronic hypertension before even getting pregnant. They are also highly predisposed to preeclampsia. So they are another group.
Exactly, the group I'm talking about, because there are people who are hypertensive
because,
even before pregnancy.
Yes, even before pregnancy, they are at higher risk of also getting the condition.
Okay.
That's one of the risk
groups. What are the other 3?
The other 3 are those who have just gestational hypertension, those pregnancy hypertension. They are also at increased risk. And then we have those who have both conditions, the preeclampsia and then the chronic hypertension. So these are the groups that we have in pregnancy. So these are the people that we manage for preeclampsia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as an ordinary woman who's pregnant, you talk about you walking into the hospital even before you get pregnant, yes, for some advice.
Conception care.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you should be doing from time to time, apart from antenatal care? At the individual level, what can you do? Is there something you shouldn't eat? Is there something you shouldn't do so you are not at risk to this?
Yes. So your diet is very important, what you take in, and it's very important so that you check your lifestyle, you check your weight,
what are
your BMI.
Some of the meals you think will be dangerous for such a person? High
cholesterol meals, you know, very fatty foods are not very good. So we advise that you take more of fruits and vegetables. Even without pregnancy, you know that all these are very, very important to keep a healthy life. So this is very important during pregnancy as well. So that is what we advise.
Okay, Kwewa, how is the response like to this project, the campaign? How are people responding to this campaign?
Well, they are responding very well because since we launched it, even though the official launch was today, May 22nd, at the 37 Military Hospital, you realize that every woman has a story to tell. And you realize that most of these women have been to the hospital and they've been told a symptom like there was protein in your urine or your pressure was high. And so when we started spreading the word, they're like, oh, so when the nurse said there was protein in my urine, this is what she meant, like I'm getting preeclampsia. So you see, it's common yet uncommon. Common to the medical personnel and the doctors, but not common to the victims of it. Individual. And so it's necessary that the personnel, share the information with the pregnant women. When their blood pressure is up, when there's protein in their urine, when you're getting too fat, because even though when you're getting fat, they say you're having a boy or something. No, it's not the case. There's a limitation. Yeah. You should be able to tell the woman, you are at risk of preeclampsia. Yes. So you have to stop this or you have to do this. Because you have to monitor yourself. And that is one thing that I'll have to add, that when you get pregnant, because of our pressure issues, when you are home, as much as possible, monitor your blood pressure. Because we are put on this 1 month antenatal schedule, it won't help. We have to regularly do it, because when preeclampsia sets in, it strikes very fast. And eclampsia is the Greek word for lightning, to emphasize how fast the lightning can strike.
Yes. Interesting. And so what kind of message are you spreading? What are you telling the people? You say don't eat fatty foods.
Dorothea has said it all, but we are telling them that they should know the symptoms of preeclampsia and they should spread the word. If we don't know something, we can't control it. Professional here has stated that there is no cure, but it can be managed.
And that we don't know what cause, of course. If
we don't know the cause. Currently, scientifically, there is no cause, but it can be managed. Its onset can be delayed. I've had 3, conceptions, 3 cesareans, but I have 1 surviving child. Why? Because for that second child, for some reason, the preeclampsia was managed, and it started after 34 weeks.
Okay.
And so we have to know the symptoms and spread the word, and by spreading the word, we will save lives.
Okay, let's hit on the symptoms once more, so we don't have people not knowing what exactly is happening to them. Once you see something, you should know that something is setting in.
Yes, the symptoms that I had, you have headache, severe headache that won't go away without any medication.
Okay.
When you are looking at somebody, you can just see spots, like you're not going blind, but you can just see some dots.
Okay.
You get excessively fat. If anybody tells you you're having a boy because you're a fat girl, you're pregnant, it's false. You are just bloating. Your urine output is low.
Okay.
Your blood pressure is going up. They test your urine and they realize that you have protein +2, +3. It means you're getting there. Okay. If it's not diagnosed and you go into eclampsia, you go into seizures, like epilepsy seizures.
Wow.
And that's what I suffered.
Wow.
And if you go through that and you are not, the baby is not delivered, because that's the only way to save your life, then you just join our ancestors.
That's interesting. Does it have any effect on the baby? Once you deliver the baby, is it possible that the baby could also suffer same?
Yes, exactly as she mentioned that her mother had it, the same way it can happen, as she said. And what has been studied elsewhere has shown that children who are born to women who have this condition are able to develop cardiovascular diseases in the future, even when they grow up.
Wow.
But then we have immediate effects on the child where they have the inability to breathe, because right within the womb they are not getting enough oxygen. Or blood supply. So some of them will either die in the womb or die immediately when they are out.
Okay.
So that's what happens to the baby.
Wow, interesting. I would have loved to go more into this discussion, but I'm saving that because we'll have a bigger discussion of this preeclampsia and all the myths surrounding it, and your project as well on PM Express this weekend. So I'll release you ladies. Many thanks for passing through, and I pray that no woman goes through this, and I wish you luck in your project, that a lot of people, women will accept this and embrace it and help to control preeclampsia. And let's still do some health. The newly opened Greater Accra Regional Hospital at Accra is still closed to the public, despite assurances from the hospital authorities. The facility will be open to the public this morning. The facility, which was officially opened last week Thursday, was later closed down soon after an official opening ceremony, rather to the disappointment of the general public. Journalist Maxwell Agbagba visited the hospital this morning and reports.
Difficult seeing officials here, or nurses, or maybe the medical director. I've only been interacting with him via the phone lines, primarily about the opening or the official operationalization of the Greater Accra Regional Hospital. In fact, behind me is actually a plaque stating that, to the glory of God, this hospital was officially opened for operations by Honorable Kweku Agyemang-Manu, Minister for Health, on the 17th May 2017. And we all know that President Mahama was the first person to commission this facility, but the hospital did not open its doors to patients. And that was expected to happen on the 17th of May. But as it stands right now, the hospital really has not opened its gates for patients here. It looks like patients who are on admission here would have to wait a while longer because we hear that the hospital would have to move in units. They can't move here at once, and they can't start operating straight ahead. I've been speaking to Dr. Srofenyo, who is the acting medical director, and he tells me that they would have to move in units, and that process will be starting tomorrow. I'm sure over the weekend you heard in the news that they will be starting work from this place, this new facility, today. As it stands right now, we are here, and we can confidently report that that has not started yet. And information we're taking from the grounds indicates that that would officially start tomorrow. And even that, not all the units would move in here immediately tomorrow, but they'll be doing that in units or maybe in batches, I should say.
So you're sure that we'll bring you some updates in our subsequent bulletin. But let's do this. Former executive director of the Ghana Standards Authority is accused of receiving $1.2 million kickback from contractors and had his tenure extended in spite of the damning report against him. This afternoon, there's a push for forensic audit of the authority's finances and activities during his tenure. The latest revelation comes on the heels of our expose on an intercepted investigative report which alleges that former executive director of the Ghana Standards Authority, Dr. George Krenzel, received $1.2 million kickback from a contractor. Lemet Construction Company is said to have worked on the over 15 million cedi new block of the Standards Authority training school. The contractor did not state why he gave out the money, but the report indicates Dr. Krenzel admitted receiving the cash. Updates are available in our subsequent bulletin. Trust us, will bring you up to speed on all of these.